not lucky enough to be born and raised here, but I love the people of this community just as much as anyone in this room. It's been almost 20 years since Terry and I moved to North Idaho, and we never take our lifestyle for granted. We've been blessed living here and we consider this our stronghold. It's not just the majestic mountains, the meandering rivers, or the forests that are home to our wildlife. What is so special to me, that makes this community so special, are the people. Without hesitation, you're there when someone needs help or if they're in trouble. You want what is best for your families, and you make sacrifices to make that happen. But I see our way of life slipping away and systematically being destroyed. And I will not stand idly by and just let it disappear without a fight. I'm sure I'm not the only one in this room that feels this way. I believe that government should be from the bottom up instead of the top down. If elected as your county commissioner, I would promote twice a year an evening meeting so those of people at work can come to those meetings, and I would like all the elected county officials, the department heads, so that you can ask your questions that are important to you. Now is the time, folks. Now is the time for we the people. Boundary County has major challenges to overcome, and it will take hard work and tenacity, but I'm up to the task. If you feel like I do, you've had enough of the intrusion, the control, the abuse, and the political rhetoric from the federal government. And now's the time to understand that words like liberty, freedom, justice, patriotism, and the rule of law used to be part of our culture and our life, our way of life, to be proud of and to fight for. And now's the time to bring those values and principles back into our lives with a vengeance and make them count. Just imagine Boundary County being prosperous, self-sustaining, in a place where our residents and our children can be comfortable and safe, and able to provide a good living for their families without destroying the quality of life, of our lifestyle. We face a tough road ahead, and I'm willing to take on the challenge with real solutions. Can you visualize a place where we can continue to enjoy our lifestyle that is important to us without constantly having to defend ourselves against our own federal government? By controlling and managing our forests ourselves, we won't have to contend with the failed federal forest policies that have turned what would be a productive and healthy asset into an environmental and fire hazard, as well as an economic liability. The recent Parker Ridge fire is a prime example. Now's the time to feel empowered to take back what has been stolen right out from underneath us. If we continue to do what we've always done, we'll continue to get what we've always gotten. This place, the people here are forever woven into the fabric of my heart, and I choose to protect and serve the people of Boundary County if you will grant me the opportunity and the humble privilege to represent you as your county commissioner. Now is the time to make a choice, to stand back or stand up. I choose to stand up for this county and for we the people. It will be up to us to be the guardians of freedom for our children and grandchildren and generations to come. If we don't stand up for those that we love, who will? All I ask of you is your support, your vote, and your prayers, especially your prayers. Please vote for me, Donna Purcell, on May 17. Thank you. I also have signs and brochures, and just talk to me after the forum.
Not going to be real long here. 17 years as a police officer in this area, 20 years with the United States Army. Every month as sheriff, we will have a training activity. I haven't seen that in 17 years. There will be improvements on training. There will be improvements on personnel. We will have a citizens advisory board. We will be able to be contacted at any time. There will be a considerable difference. And I'm not talking about any extra monies. We will stay within our budgets. There is a plan. I've been sharing it with most people on the Facebook and the emails. I have a policy and procedure manual that I will enact. It's all mapped out. Vote for me, 17 May.
Before Mr. Kirby tells us that we have the right to remain silent, I want to hit on just a couple key components of the leadership experience that I could bring to the position of sheriff. Assistant chief, I worked my way up. It's something I had to apply for. It wasn't just given to me. Chief for over 20 years, past chairman of Boundary County Waterways, past president of Bonners Ferry Rotary, past president of Idaho Chiefs of the Police Association, past president of Montana and Idaho chapter of National Academy Associates, director of Boundary County Emergency Management, vice president of Idaho State Emergency Managers Association, board member Boundary Search and Dive Rescue Team, vice commander of Idaho State Search and Rescue Association, board member of Idaho Law Enforcement Torch Run for Special Olympics, and presenter at the National Rural Law Enforcement Technology Conference. I believe it's important to look at ways to improve the service that we can give to the community and to listen to the community, our employees, for better ideas. I believe the body cameras is one of the things that I brought to the city of Bonners Ferry. I feel officers should have body cameras. It takes the guesswork out of what happened. It makes it easier for the court cases, and people see things differently. If you have body cameras and the in-car cameras, that will help. We were the first agency in North Idaho to go to tasers. One of the officers suggested that. It was another tool in our belt. So I looked at it, listened to him, and thought, that makes sense. It gives us an option between deadly force and an impact weapon. I was an impact weapon instructor for over 20 years in Idaho, teaching officers in Kootenai County, Bonner County, Post Falls. We did some testing, we did some studying. We were the first agency in all of North Idaho to go to use of a taser. It's another tool, looking at tools to make it safer for the people we have to arrest and for the officers. To make it short, another quick recent example, working at the tribal police, I asked if we could make some changes to our first aid kit to be better prepared. Some of the new technology is a CAT, Combat Applied Tourniquet. I felt it's being used in other areas. I feel every officer should have one of those. I was one of the first officers on the MacArthur Lake crash. I was out patrolling some tribal property near Naples when the call came in. Past gentleman over here, a couple of you in the line. I was the first officer to one of the victims. He had almost severed his left arm. You could see through the bone. I had a combat tourniquet in my cargo pocket of my pants, and we were able to apply that to the man. I don't think that's why he's still alive today. It possibly contributed to it, but he is still alive today. It's something that if you see a need and you see it's something that's reasonable, you need to be looking forward and providing that to your officers for their own safety, for their co-workers' safety, and for the public's safety. So again, I'm David Kramer. I would like the opportunity to bring my experience, my leadership, and my commitment to Boundary County. I've served as a substitute teacher, and after teaching second graders, I definitely want to go back to law enforcement as my primary focus. Thank you.
That's squeeze. Thank you. Thank you all for staying here. It's critical what you're doing here and listening to us speak and having your knowledge filled and your opinions formed about what we're going to represent. So I do thank you. There's a few empty seats, so we'll have to get in touch with them later. Something I forgot to do in the beginning is to thank my wife, this beautiful red-headed woman in the back, and I'd appreciate it if you can help me give her a round of applause. It is not easy on the spouses when we leave, especially being here in District 1, the furthest one's from Boise, and it's not easy when we go down there for 3 months, and especially with 4 out of 7 children still in the home, and last year we had a milk cow and other animals that still needed to be tended to, and so I'm very grateful for her help. The second thing is I want to apologize if I looked a little distracted up here. I was having a slew of emails flying in, some good, some bad, about the governor's actions today. On the good side, he signed into law the nuisance abatement bill, which gives the commissioners of each county the ability to go to the federal government and say, we need this taken care of for the safety of our citizens regarding Forest Service lands and BLM lands. And so that's a great positive that he did sign that into law today. We can applaud that. The downside is that he chose to veto a bill that I carried on the House floor that would have allowed the use of religious texts and specifically the Bible within schools. That was a large debate that I had a debate within my education committee over, and it was a large debate on the floor, and we were successful in moving it through both houses. Senator Cheryl Nuxel carried that in the Senate. And I was optimistic about the chances of that going through, but I believe the Attorney General didn't think it would stand a constitutional test, and the Governor saw fit to veto it. So that was my distraction up here. Thank you again. I look forward to speaking with you. If you would like to speak to me, I do have literature and things over there. And thank you once again for your trust in me and for allowing me to pass through this primary without an opponent. So God bless.
Sage and I's offices are right across from each other's, and we're always reminding each other, and he keeps me tamed down and I get him fired up, and he reminds me of what I haven't done, and I haven't thanked my husband either. He's put up with so much, and I've come home 3 times in 3 months, so Andrew's sitting in the back, thank everybody. That was awesome. That's how I got so blessed. So I was sitting up here writing some ending things, and it's short, but my question is, are your elected officials being controlled by you, the citizens, or are they being controlled by the establishment, the lobbyist groups, and their own interests? There are jurisdictions in our government for a reason. The county should be there to protect you from the state, and the state should be there to protect you from federal overreach. There are people from around the country right now, 40 of them, and 4 of them actually from Idaho, that are sitting in prisons for exercising their freedom of speech. And that's why it's so critical that you're here today listening to your sheriffs. You need to make sure that you have a constitutional sheriff in place that will protect your county when federal overreach happens. It doesn't take much to look at the news, and you can see what's going on around the country. And a sheriff that understands his rights when it comes to federal overreach is critical. I also believe that you need a commissioner that is